If that doesn't prove that all of us were right about that disastrous trade deadline, I don't know what could have. Taylor Ward was awful. Luis Rengifo gets hurt again. And the Angels offense does absolutely nothing in a brutal, boring loss. We'll talk about it on tonight's edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast right now.
You are Locked On Angels Postcast, part of Locked On Sports Los Angeles, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and hello, Postcast people, and welcome to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast, coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game here on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels podcast feed. I am Gavin Carlson. If you don't know who I am, I spent 4 years, not one, not two, not three, but 4 as a credentialed journalist in the LA area, covering UCLA sports, covering college athletics, and I am now, of course, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day, and if your team is the Angels, which it probably is if you're watching this, what a brutal couple of days it has been. We talked about it, we ranted about it yesterday about how disastrous the trade deadline was, not enough moves being made, none of the 3 biggest trade chips in Tyler Anderson, Taylor Ward, or Luis Rengifo being traded, none of the expiring contracts other than just Carlos Estevez and Luis Garcia being traded, and boy, did tonight absolutely prove how bad those decisions were, how bad the lack of activity in the deadline was. Because like I said in the intro, Taylor Ward was abysmal. And I know we weren't going to get a ton for him because he's been abysmal all year. But you're telling me that you'd rather watch Taylor Ward go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, twice looking, then once swinging? You'd rather watch that and have to pay him and have to keep him next year rather than trade him for 2 prospects, even 1 prospect? Like, come on, man. I think that's a trade you make even if you're at 500. This team is 14 games under 500. I didn't even say it. They lost 2-1 to the Rockies tonight. Like, it was a no-brainer. He should have been traded. And then, of course, Rengifo, great player, but oh, does he get hurt? And now, once again, the wrist. We don't know how long the injury is going to hold him out. But what we do know is this is something that has been consistently a part of the Luis Rengifo experience. And maybe, just maybe, you know, you trade them away and you get pieces. Maybe you're in a better state as a franchise. We'll talk about all of it. You know, a lot of talk from me before we even did the proper intro. Shout out to everybody in here. You know how much I appreciate all of you so much. And I also appreciate our sponsor. Today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB and use code all lowercase LockedOnMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. And with all that being said, on tonight's show, we're going to talk about a Logan O'Hoppe home run. We're going to talk about a pretty solid start from Davis Daniel, a good bullpen performance outside of one mistake from Hans Kraus. But we have to start with an abysmal offensive performance. 6 hits for the Angels tonight, and other than a Logan O'Hoppe solo home run, really no threat of scoring runs. Obviously, the O'Hoppe home run did score a run, but really no threat. There was only 2 runners left in scoring position, Brandon Drury and Mickey Moniak. We had the 8th inning there where there was the, small ball executed pretty well. You get the leadoff walk from Joe Adell. You get the leadoff walk from Joe Adell. You get the sac bunt from Michael Stefanik. There's a runner on second with 1 out. Okay, and then what happens from there? Nolan Schanuel swings and misses through swings and misses through a fastball right down the middle. Actually, I don't think it was a fastball. I will check that real quick. It was a slider, but he hung a slider right down the middle. He got ahead 3-0. I don't know what the win probability is or whatnot when you see runner on second, 1 out, 3-0. But boy, talk about a flip of events, a turn of events, a flip of the tide. It's looking like a really promising situation for the Angels to tie the game. And Nolan Schanuel, he takes a slider right down the middle, for a strike. Okay, that's fine. It was 3-0. He takes another slider on the outside corner for a strike. And then you're telling me you get 3 straight sliders right there, right in the wheelhouse, and you're not able to square up the third one? That was brutal from Shannon. We know how great he's been. And I'm not going to be too hard on him because the whole lineup was terrible. But that hurts, and so does Mickey Moniak, hitting a hard line drive in his at-bat with 2 outs and the runner on second, but then eventually striking out on a brutal slider that bounced before home plate. And he looked like he was swinging no matter where it was. This guy was throwing all sliders to you. All sliders. He threw 1 fastball in the 5 pitches. 4 sliders. He threw 3 straight sliders the at-bat before to Nolan Schanuel. And you're telling me you can't hold off a slider that bounced before home plate when that's all this guy is throwing? Disappointing. But it wasn't just the 8th inning, of course. Not much action against Kyle Freeland, who, man, if you are having a rough season, play the Angels. Kyle Freeland's been brutal. Even after this game, where he is great, where he was basically untouched. 7 innings, 6 hits, just 1 earned run, no walks, 6 strikeouts. He just gave up the solo shot to Ohapi. Even with that, great outing. He still has a 5.64 ERA. He's still 3-4. But not against the Angels, man. Absolutely great start from him. Kyle Freeland, he's 31. I remember there was a time where, he's the top 10 pick, top type of guy that can the Rockies, build around him in the rotation. We know how bad their pitching always is because they play in Coors Field, but also because they don't have great pitching. And man, he's not been great this year, but hey, just play the Angels. Just play the Angels and everything is going to be all right. Be all right. Yeah, so brutal stuff. As brutal as that singing right there for me. But yeah, just one of those games where the Angels don't show any life. And it makes it hurt so much more when Taylor Ward does what he did tonight. There are not words to describe how frustrating this is. Players are going to have bad nights. And I'm sure that's what they'll tell you if you're watching Bally's or listening to the radio or whatever. Players have bad nights. But Taylor Ward, expected to be the leader of this offense with Trout and Rendon out, has been bad just about every night. And the problem is, when he's not bad, he hits a grand slam. He hits a 3-run shot. He goes 2 for 5. And then, the homers can just brag about that game for the next 3 weeks because he'll do nothing for the next 3 weeks. And there's nothing, there's 0 for 4 Kevin Pillar, but 1 strikeout. And he's a plus glove in the outfield, right? There's Zach Neto 1 for 3. Even Brandon Drury was 1 for 3 tonight. Joe Adell didn't have a hit, but he only struck out once, which for him is a miracle, and he got on with a walk, and he got himself on second base in the 8th inning. Taylor Ward was absolutely embarrassing tonight. It looked like how he looked a couple weeks ago, where he got hit in the head with a pitch, and then he looked scared of the baseball for the next week and a half. And I get it. That's tough. I don't care how many years you've played baseball. I don't care how much you get paid. You get hit in the head with the fastball. You've already been hit in the head before. And I forget who it was, but one pitcher, a few games later, was throwing sliders up and into him. Absolutely brutal, right? When you've just got hit on an inside fastball. But man, that was then. This is now. There's no excuse for the veteran of the lineup, for the supposed best hitter in the lineup, the guy who hits third every single game, even if he's coming off a bad performance. Good performance, bad performance, it doesn't matter. He's always hitting third. And he goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts the day after he should have been traded and was not. I like being right. Like you, like anybody. Some people like it a little bit too much. I'm not one of those people. But of course, we're humans. If we have opinions, especially my job on this podcast is to give my opinion about sports, about the Angels. I like when my opinion is proven correct. And that was certainly the case with Taylor Ward. But I am an Angels fan more than I am a postcaster. And as much as I love my opinion being correct, I love the Angels being good a whole lot more. So I don't take joy in saying this. But there's absolutely no reason why Taylor Ward or Rengifo or Tyler Anderson should not have been traded. We know that. By now, if you watched the show yesterday, if you've watched anybody else who talks about the Angels, if you read a single tweet on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, if you've been on a single message board, if you've even remotely, if you've typed Angels on Google, you know that everyone is questioning why the heck the Angels didn't trade at least one of those three guys. And that was my opinion before tonight. That will be my opinion, for the rest of the season, regardless of if Taylor Ward ends up being the best hitter in baseball. I will stand by my point because I'm not going to use, I'm not going to be a Monday morning quarterback. I'm not going to be conveniently change my opinion based on what happens. Now, of course, if Taylor Ward became the best hitter in baseball, I would say, man, I'm lucky I was wrong. But I would explain my reasoning for making that opinion at the moment, it being the trade deadline, and then say, man, good thing I was wrong. He's been unbelievable. Glad he's on my team. But I don't have to do that because, man, the game after, and sure, the lineup was great last night. But one, you're playing the Rockies, who are abysmal, awful, embarrassing, especially the pitching. But two, it's going to take 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 20 great offensive performances to justify not trading Taylor Ward or Luis Rengifo, at least one of them, or at least Kevin Pillar, or at least Willie Calhoun for a bag of chips, if you could get it. Brandon Drury for literally $10. It's going to take, when you're 14 games under 500, and when you don't have a good farm system, and when you don't have many young studs other than the core three of Shanuel, Hoppy, and Neto, maybe Soriano, certainly Ben Joyce. When you don't have if you're the Baltimore Orioles, even like a couple years ago before they exploded, you can justify keeping a veteran when you probably should have traded him because, hey, you got like 10 prospects that are going to end up being amazing. We don't got that. We don't have that at all. So how the heck, I don't even want to keep repeating myself. How the heck do you not make the trade? But once again, the moral of the story is it's going to take the Angels making a magical run, getting within 3 or 4 games in the AL West, which isn't going to happen. But I'm saying it would have to take that in order to justify keeping Taylor Ward and Tyler Anderson. So that's not going to happen. But tonight, the exact opposite. It couldn't have proved all of us correct any more than it did. When Taylor Ward goes 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts, and when Luis Rengifo gets hurt. I'm not going to sit here and say I was 100% in on trading Rengifo, but if you told me that you weren't going to trade any of the 3, we deserve to see Rengifo get hurt. We deserve to see Taylor Ward go 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. And just watch. Tyler Anderson will come out in his next start, and he'll probably be awful, knowing us. Or even better, he'll throw a no-hitter, and we'll lose. Because that's the type of stuff we deserve, being Angels fans. And this franchise deserves when they make such questionable, brain-dead decisions. I'll take a deep breath. I don't even know if I mentioned the Angels lost tonight 2-1 to the Colorado Rockies at the Big A. They are now 1-1 against the Rockies. They're now 47-61, fighting with those A's for the worst record in the AL West. We're going to take our first break here. Shout out to everybody in here. I appreciate you all so much. We'll get to your comments. We're going to talk a little bit more about the offense because it was so bad, it doesn't take just one segment to talk about them. We'll also give Davis Daniel his credit, the rest of the bullpen, other than Hans Kraus, their credit, and even Hans Kraus to some degree. And then we'll, of course, read your comments. We're going to take our first break here. I'm Gavin Carlson. I'll be right back. Now, today's show, this wonderful show of the Locked On Angels Postcast, is brought to you by the wonderful people at Prize Picks. If you somehow don't know by now, I love Prize Picks. But so do 5 million other active members because Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with those 5 million active members. That's a lot of members. That's a lot of members. Why do they have so many? Well, because it's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Here's the obvious reason why. Unlike other apps where you got to compete against other people and they've got algorithms and they've got AI and they've got years of studying statistics or years of being professional sports fantasy players. Unlike those apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. You just got to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. And I'm talking winnings. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. That's right. You can turn $10. You don't have to risk $1 billion. You can turn $10 into 1,000. On Tuesdays, they lower certain stat projections to make it easier for your lineups to hit. And on Fridays, your first lineup, if it doesn't hit, guess what? You get your money back. It's a risk-free lineup on Fridays. It's all amazing. It's why Prize Picks is the best. It's why you need to download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That's code LOCKEDONMLB on Prize Picks for a deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I'm Gavin Carlson, and I'm a fed up Gavin Carlson, a fed up Angels fan. Not because we lost. We're used to that this year. We're 14 games under 500. But because the exact guys that we wanted off the team, not because we hate them, some of them we might, but some of them just because they're valuable, the exact guys you want off the team in a trade that did not happen yesterday, they did not do. Not only did they not do well, things went about as poorly as they could have gone. Taylor Ward 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. Luis Rengifo swings, and he feels that wrist hurt again. And Ron Washington comes out, they look, they check on him, and he's out of there, just like that. So absolutely brutal, as bad as things could have gone for the Angels. A lot of comments in here, a lot of people in here really appreciate the support, as always. We will get to those comments in the third segment, as we always do. But let's talk a little bit more about this game, a little bit more. The postcast is going to slowly become more and more talking about the future, interacting with you guys. Of course, we're going to break down every game. That's what the postcast is. It is a post-game show after all. But the same way I've been talking about the trade deadline a lot right now, we'll talk about the future of this franchise every single postcast, and we'll hear from you guys as well. But real quick, just looking at the box score, just 6 hits, 9 strikeouts. Once again, Kyle Freeland, who's been awful this year, just 6 hits in 7 innings. 1 earned run, no walks. 6 strikeouts, and just the solo home run to Logan O'Hoppe. Other than that, the bullpen was good for the Rockies. Kinley, no hits, 2 strikeouts, and a walk. And then Vodnik comes in for the save, 1-2-3 with a strikeout, absolutely shutting down our Angels. If you didn't see the box score, if you don't want to look at the box score, I'll tell you it. Nolan Schanuel was 1 for 4 with a strikeout, a big strikeout in the biggest at-bat of the game, arguably. Rengifo 0 for 3 with a strikeout before he gets hurt. Mickey Moniak came in for him, and he struck out. Luis Guillerme came in, but he didn't hit. Taylor Ward 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts. We said that a million times. Pilar 0 for 4 with a strikeout. Logan O'Hoppe, the big, only really good player tonight, 2 for 4 with the solo shot. He's hitting 281. 281. The OPS is over 800. It's officially higher than Kevin Pillar's. Or no, it's not yet, excuse me. They're exactly identical in terms of average at 281. Pillar's OPS is still 807. And you're telling me you couldn't trade him for anything? Oh, man. But O'Hoppe has been great. He's been absolutely great. He's the only reason we have hope about this franchise going forward. Neto 1 for 3. We'll take that for him. Average up to 256. Brandon Drury 1 for 3 to move his average all the way up to 163? Are you kidding me? Oh, my goodness. And he still had a strikeout. Joe Adell, that big walk, but still 0 for 2 with the strikeout. And then Stefanik comes back up with, guess who? Rendon out and goes 1 for 2. He's hitting 212 with a 539 OPS. Those are some embarrassing numbers, man. Some embarrassing numbers on this team. But, despite that, the Angels were in this game because Davis Daniel, who has been shaky in his own right, who gave us that amazing, unforgettable debut and fooled all of us into thinking this guy's going to be elite. If you forget, June 27th, 8 innings pitched, just 4 hits and 8 strikeouts, no runs against Detroit. But then against the A's, he gave up 7 hits, 5 runs, 4 of them earned, 2 home runs in 5 1/3. And then against the Rangers, even worse, 3 2/3 inning, 8 hits, 7 earned runs with a home run. But tonight he looked like the guy who started that first game. Really, really solid, just throwing strikes. It helps that you're playing a really bad team. And this is what's going to happen in Major League Baseball. You're going to play bad teams. You're going to play bad lineups. And sometimes guys that are not elite, but not terrible, they're going to have the occasional good game. So Davis Daniel, he did that. 5 hits, 1 run. It was earned. He walked 1 guy, but just 1 walk, 5 strikeouts, and he's going to throw strikes. He's going to do that. 60 of his 85 pitches were strikes. Tells you about everything you need to know. He's always going to have a high strike percentage because he just throws strikes, and sometimes you force weak contact. Sometimes you get roughed up. Tonight he forced weak contact, but he did not get the win. And it's not because of Jose Marte, who was solid, 1 hit, 1 strikeout in his inning. Not because of Baumann, recently acquired, comes in. Mike Baumann, first game with the Anaheim Angels. I keep saying Anaheim. First game with the Angels after getting traded at the deadline from the Giants. he was good. 1 inning, 1 hit, 1 strikeout as well. But Hans Kraus, who for a moment this year was the Angels' magic card. He came out, he wouldn't give up hits, he wouldn't give up runs, but more importantly, anytime he pitched, the Angels would win. Well, he now has back-to-back outings where the Angels lose because of him, and he gets the loss. The ERA is suddenly over 3. It's suddenly at 3.24. He's suddenly 4-2. He came out, and he wasn't awful. He wasn't awful in the 8th inning, but he did give up the big hit, and he did give up the big run. And at the end of the day, Hans Kraus, is he a future bullpen arm? Probably, because we traded Garcia, because we traded Estevez, but he just didn't get it done tonight, and that's going to happen. It's just, especially on a home run, right? You come in, you get a strikeout, and it's not like he was bad other than the home run, but you fell behind 3-1, you hung a slider, and Doyle, unloaded. 108.6 exit velo, 431 feet to left field for Brenton Doyle. He's got 18 home runs, and you can't make a mistake like that against a guy who's got 17 home runs coming into the game. That was the only mistake that the Angels really had this game. That and obviously the first inning for Davis Daniel. But, when you only score 1 run, when you don't do anything offensively, that's what's going to happen. So, shout out to Davis Daniel for being resilient, for having a decent start today. Shout out to the rest of the bullpen. And Hans Kraus, other than that one mistake, wasn't terrible or anything. And we know how great he's been. He's not going to be perfect every outing, but just not good enough. I'm never going to criticize the pitching when you give up 2 runs. Simply no support from the offense. This is what we get when Tyler Anderson pitches. This is what we get when the bullpen pitches well. And that's why I said it yesterday. I'll say it again. What is keeping Tyler Anderson accomplish when he's going to have games like this where he himself will give up 2 runs in 9 innings and you'll still lose, right? It just doesn't make sense to me at all. I'm going to try not to say the word trade for the rest of the postcast, but clearly it's all that is on my mind. We're going to take our last break here on the postcast. When I come back, we will get to all these comments. So many comments. I love to see it. I will answer your questions. I will read your opinions. Tell me what I think of, or I'll tell you what I think of them. And we'll talk about tomorrow, I guess, because the Angels will try to, end this series on a positive note against these Rockies because, man, disappointing that you get a first win, but then you get the loss here. And now it's like, obviously it doesn't matter. But you like to win series, especially against bad teams. So hopefully they can get it done tomorrow. We'll take our last break. We'll get to all your comments because there are still many. And boy, I appreciate it. After the last break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, finally, today's show is brought to you by Supply House. Order supplies from the website that's made for the skilled trades. Find thousands of parts from hundreds of brands in just a couple clicks at supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com gives you 24/7 access to a huge selection of plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with fast delivery anywhere in the U.S. Need help with an order? Get industry-leading after-sales service from their friendly and knowledgeable customer support team. And here's my favorite part, folks. You talk to a real person every time. And there's great news for plumbers, technicians, and contractors. Being a pro has its perks. Trade industry professionals can join their free Trade Master program for free shipping and serious discounts on every order. Over 100,000 pros already trust the Trade Master program to deliver results. And why wouldn't you? It's free. It's no risk. You don't get that in 2024, man. So take advantage. Apply for your membership today and get a competitive edge on every order at supplyhouse.com/TM. Save money and time when you order online. Order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from supplyhouse.com. Real people, real service every time. Back here live on the Locked On Sports Los Angeles YouTube channel. This is the Locked On Angels Postcast. I am Gavin Carlson. The Angels, not victorious. They lose 2-1 after that great, exciting, high-scoring, multiple comeback win yesterday over the Rockies. Boy, did they do the complete opposite, a complete 180. The offense lays an egg, just 6 hits, just 1 run on a solo shot from Logan O'Hoppe. They really only threatened the Rockies one more time in the 8th inning, and threaten is simply getting a runner on second with 1 out, and it simply wasn't good enough. Obviously, they did not come through in the 8th inning. It's time for the best part of the show, in my opinion. We get to your comments. We see what you think about this team. I'm sure there will be talks about the trade deadline. I already, went back on my promise. I had said that I wasn't going to say trade anymore in the rest of this postcast. We've already said it twice since then, and I'm sure we'll read it a couple times in these comments. Shout out to everybody in here, man. I can't overstate how much I appreciate all of you. This is a really fun, setting. Love hearing from you guys. And it's really the best part of watching the Angels, of talking about the Angels at this point, is hearing from you guys. So shout out to Jeff. Always the first comment. He says, that was short-lived. Winning streak. Yep, just one game. Angels win with the sarcastic but perfect comment of the night. Exciting game tonight. Woo. I got to say, I'll talk about me a little bit just because why not? I went to the gym today. You see me wear tank tops probably on most of these shows. Yes, I wear tank tops a lot because I go to the gym and because I come back from the gym and then I watch the Angels and then I do the show. But I made the foolish decision of, after my workout today, deciding I was going to run on the treadmill for not very long, but I was doing sprints, man. I was running fast and I almost passed out. I was so tired. So I come back, I eat some food to get my blood sugar up, and I'm sitting there watching the Angels. And I'm tired. Sure, I'm tired. But I'm watching my Angels. And I'm not kidding. There was a couple times where I felt my eyes starting to close, because this team is so boring when they have games like they did today. Because you just know they're not going to do anything. You just know. There's only two real outcomes for this team. Maybe three. There's three. There's do nothing the whole game, which we basically got tonight. There's have a big explosive inning or two, like they did yesterday. Or there's do nothing for the first 7 or 8 innings and then do something in the bottom of the 8th or the bottom of the 9th. And so this was one of those games where you could tell it certainly wasn't going to be the big explosive innings. They were just getting mowed through by Kyle Freeland. So you can doze off. You can doze off. And, hopefully you wake up in the 8th and see if they can make a comeback. And luckily tonight, it was worth watching because the game was close. Not because the lineup was showing any life, but because the game was close thanks to the pitching staff. But boy, I'm not kidding. I am glued to every Angels game for the most part. And tonight, the eyes were closed. They were closed. I was listening, of course I was following everything, but I was half there because you don't need to be fully there with this team. They're just not going to give you much to be excited or zoomed in about. So yeah, for real, Angels win. Real bore tonight. Anaheim Angel says, so Taylor Ward is awesome. Yeah, man, 0 for 4, 3 Ks, and just the way you do them too. You don't strike out swinging ever. You get called on strikes twice, and then you swing at a Bisball's pitch for the 3rd straight for the hat trick? Oh, man. Anaheim Angel says, Taylor stuff, maybe hustle to catch the ball so maybe a run doesn't score. The usual, because he's answering Jeff's question about what did Taylor do or not do. The usual. Nothing offensively, nothing defensively. At the very least, I'm going to ask you to do one thing, and he does neither most of the time. But Alex says, another boring game, and of course, Kraus is a loss. Yeah, he's slowly crumbling a little bit. I mean, not crumbling. He had one mistake, but it was a nice magical run with him while we had it. Jeff says, it's nice to be here for the whole show. I appreciate you, Gavin. I appreciate you, Jeff. Glad you could be here for the whole show. I guess you're not at work today, which is nice. Congratulations. Angels win. Properly calling me out today. He says, where is the Angels banner? Because, yeah, I brought it up a couple times. I said I was going to put it up yesterday, and then I was so frustrated I didn't. I'll be honest. I will be honest. I just fumbled the bag today. Clearly. It's not up. Part of it is because I'm in a new apartment that I'm only going to be in for a month and a half more. And I tried to get a word from the landlord about if I'm even able or allowed to, pin stuff on the wall. So we don't know. And, I can find a way to use some sticky stuff. I mean, it's a banner. It's not a poster. So it's a little different, but I honestly might just take the risk tomorrow and do it. I'll just nail in, some push pins and get it up because I agree. It's time. And it's one of the only exciting things about the Angels at this point is having a darn banner on your wall. So yes, you were right for calling me out. Angels win. And I don't want to make the promise. I don't want to overpromise, but I will look at you in the eyes right now and say, I'll get the banner up tomorrow for you. I'll do it. I will do it. The yes, sir comment of the night, Rengifo and Ward should have been dealt. Absolutely. Anthony Jimenez says, everyone but Arte and Perry think Anderson, Ward, Rengifo, Pilar, and Drury should have been dealt. Yep. And I get it. We are not in, the circle. Obviously, we don't work in baseball. We don't know what guys' true values were. We don't know what offers were actually being sent. But I'm seeing comments on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it of people being accused of being, Twitter GMs or just fans that don't know anything for saying, why aren't these guys being dealt? Oh, there's two sides to every story. What were they getting back? Blah, 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 blah. The end of the day, like I said, we might not ever know. We might know. We'll see. At the end of the day, if you were offered a single prospect for Kevin Pillar and didn't make that deal happen, shame on you. Shame on you. For him alone, he deserves to be somewhere else. But also, tell me what Kevin Pillar will do for this team in the next 3-4 months, other than be a great player and a great leader, sure. But he's not amazing enough to contribute to, wins or a winning streak. And he's gone after the year. So it just makes no sense. Drury, if they offered you $10 for Brandon Drury, should have been done in a heartbeat. Taylor Ward, based on a night like tonight, which I'm not being, hindsight is 2020. I'm not just using hindsight and using today to say Taylor Ward should have been traded. We've been hammering the Taylor Ward should be traded drum for months because he's been awful for months. And yes, maybe because he's been awful for months, the offers were not great. Maybe there was only one. Maybe there was two. Maybe there wasn't a bidding war or anything. I'm not surprised. We saw teams like the Pirates pivot somewhere else. We saw the Giants get, somewhere else in the outfield. We saw the Braves go for Jorge Soler and not a Kevin Pillar or a Taylor Ward, like was being thrown out earlier. The Royals, too, didn't go after Taylor Ward. But at the end of the day, if Taylor Ward was not traded because the asking price was too high, ridiculous. The asking price cannot be high. You can't blame other teams for not wanting to give up a lot for a guy who's got 1 year left of control after this, who's been terrible this year, who does nothing in the field and is extremely inconsistent offensively, borderline consistently bad. Not borderline. He's consistently bad, other than a home run every 3 or 4 games or 8 games. And when he doesn't hit a home run, he strikes out every time. Anderson, I'm sure we asked for the moon, but you don't get to ask for the moon when you're 14 games under 500, when he's only got 1 year left. And here's the biggest point of all. He's not going to have a year like he did this year, next year. He probably won't. And the problem is a lot of teams probably knew that. So they weren't willing to give up as much as was given up for other starting pitchers. I get that. Anderson does not have crazy, amazing stuff. But that's the point. At the end of the day, if they're not giving you peak value back for Tyler Anderson because they know he's not going to be good next year, you have to accept the fact that he's probably not going to be good next year and still take advantage of the fact that there's teams that certainly need him and want him and are going to give you more for him now than they will next year when he probably is worse, when he only has half a year of control after that. So you blew it on him. And Rengifo, this one you can say hindsight a little bit because obviously he's been great, but he gets hurt here. We knew that was a part of the Rengifo experience. Absolute disaster that none of those guys are traded. And Anthony Jimenez, you are absolutely right. Angels win says the question is whether the A's will catch the Angels. Honestly, yeah, who knows? Anaheim Angels says at least we aren't the White Sox. But then Fud Alex says, but it feels like we are watching the White Sox. Yes, it really, really does. Really, really does. Just looking here at the remainder of the comments, Angels win says prize picks tip, take Taylor Ward and the under. Yeah, exactly. Prize picks, pick more, pick less. When it's the Angels, usually pick less and you'll do well. Washington said we will contend for a playoff spot in 2025. And as Angels win properly says 2026 is a whole lot more likely, which is why, I'm not going to do it again, but it's why keeping guys like Taylor Ward and Tyler Anderson, hey, they'll be here for 2025. Oh, they'll be here next year. They'll be here. Who cares? Next year, if you're not 14 games under 500, you're 12 with them. I don't care if they have another year. Anaheim Angel sarcastically says, come on, guys, we can still make it. Mathematically, we are still in. Yeah, the new math. Anthony Jimenez says, BC, welcome back. He says, should have freed Tyler Anderson. I absolutely agree. And finally, Fud Alex says, maybe Artie didn't want to trade the big names that are left and have AAA or AA players play. We know that he's all about having big names in the lineup so that people come out to the game. But at the end of the day, the people going to the Angels games in 2024 are going because they love the Angels, regardless of who's playing. And they're going because of Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe and Nolan Shadewell anyways. If you trade Taylor Ward, if you trade Kevin Pillar, if you trade Brandon Drury or Willie Calhoun or heck, even a Hunter Strickland, even a Matt Moore for pennies, I don't care. The attendance isn't going to go down. We're not going to be the A's who are actively boycotting their team because their team is leaving and doing them dirty. We're not going to be other teams that, they got better things to do. They don't want to go. This area, this fan base is going to give you 20,000 fans, 25,000 fans a night regardless. Only because we love this team and because you have a couple of young guys in Shadewell, in O'Hoppe, in Zach Neto, in Adele every once in a while is going to hit a home run. A couple of the starters and relief pitchers are worth watching. That's going to get 24,000, 25, 26, which has been the number most nights. Throw in the fact that there's always fireworks or free giveaways. You're going to get 20K plus regardless. So Artie, I'm sure he's thinking like that. I'm not criticizing your comment at all, Fun Alex. You are exactly right. We know how Artie thinks, but he thinks foolishly because A, the goal should be to win, but B, the goal should be to win in the future, to prepare for the future, and this does neither. You're not going to win now. You're not going to win in the future. And honestly, I don't think it affects the attendance that much if those guys get traded. If not, if anything, at this point, let me ask you this, and we'll leave with this because we're already over time as always. What would make you more excited to go to an Angels game? Watching the same lineup that's 14 games under 500, the same lineup that never scores more than 4 runs, but hey, it's guys you know and like Taylor Ward? No. That, or, hey, we got this Matthew Lugo guy. Let's see how he is. Hey, we've got insert X prospect here that we would have gotten in return for Tyler Anderson for Taylor Ward. You're telling me we couldn't have got one hitter for Tyler Anderson as a prospect that would have been more exciting than Taylor Ward? You're telling me you couldn't do a 1-for-1 with Taylor Ward for a 20-year-old version of Taylor Ward? I'd so much rather watch a 21-year-old guy who's hitting 225 and strikes out 3 times out of 4. Come on, man. Come on. So just an absolute failure of every regard. BC says David Roberts pulled Anderson early in his last playoff game when he was dealing. Hope that's not the last one of his career. Yeah, who knows? Dave Roberts usually makes the wrong decision in the playoffs when it comes to pitching. But yeah, feel bad for Anderson. He deserves to be on a better team. This was the time to cash in on him because he won't be this good. He won't be this good next year. I guarantee it. But we got through all the comments. So many. I love it. I love them all. Appreciate all the comments. And I will appreciate this last thing from you guys. Please, I'm going to say it every time because lately, because I've been begging for it, it's been happening. If you're on your phone right now, flip it vertical, hit the like button. If you're on your laptop, scroll down a little bit, hit the like button. And then once I hit end stream, scroll down to the comment section, leave a comment. I'm going to start replying. Like I said, I'm going to start replying. So please leave comments there. If you are a viewer that's not subscribed, because at this point I thought, oh, it's the usual people in here in the comment section at least. I assume most of the people watching are subscribed, but I went into the analytics and like half of the viewers, if not 2/3 of the viewers every night aren't subscribed. So please do me a favor, hit subscribe and you'll be notified every time I go live. I don't blame you if you don't know when the Angels game is every night at this point. I don't blame you. But at least if you're subscribed, you'll hear that I'm going live and that'll let you know how the Angels did. And you can come listen to the podcast and come leave comments and be a part of the community. But with all those pleas, all those plugs being said, thanks so much for joining me on the podcast as always. And we will be back here tomorrow as always as the Angels look to win this series against the Rockies tomorrow night. Another 6:40 game. Still got those amazing throwback unis. Please make the throwback unis permanent. I see so many people say it, and they're all right. Make the throwback unis permanent. They are phenomenal. But I'll be back here tomorrow. Hopefully you will be as well. Appreciate the love and support as always. Oh, we'll still probably end up talking about the trade deadline tomorrow, let's be honest, because what else? What else? But we'll see you tomorrow. Thank you so much for the support, for the comments, for everything. As always, I'm Gavin Carlson. Angels lose to the Rockies 2-1. Let's win the series tomorrow, folks. Take care. Have a great Wednesday night. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Gavin Carlson, and go Halos. I hate you, Arte Moreno. I really do.